I want to bring in probably somebody who knows New Jersey politics as well as anybody right now, and that is Steve Adubato, who's been the voice of New Jersey politics for a long, long time. Hey, Steve, no surprise here tonight but I'd like to start, if we could, with the Barbara, and more specifically, who wasn't there both throughout the campaign and even tonight. It was interesting. Just made some phone calls before tonight as to who was going to be in attendance. Next to nobody in the New Jersey Democratic congressional delegation. You got Booker, obviously, who's in D.C. right now. Former Jersey governors, Democratic governors weren't around. The Democrats really didn't show up for her. I knew she had an uphill climb, but the party didn't rally around her at all.
Well, Richard, first of all, it's always good to talk to you, particularly on election night. Here's the deal. Barbara Buono gets points in my book for having the guts to take on Christie when a lot of the men in the Democratic Party who could have run against him didn't. But here's the problem for her. She is her entire public life, she has said, I am an independent. What she really means by that, Richard, is that she has not participated, she has not engaged, she has not worked closely with other Democrats, she has not formed alliances. She was thrown out by the Democrats in her leadership position. She was taken out of her position as the chair of the Senate Budget Committee. She was thrown out of leadership in the state Senate. Bottom line is this. She doesn't have a lot of friends in the State House. And when you conduct yourself that way, and then you choose to run for governor, you may call yourself an independent. I call you a loner. And being a loner makes you alone on election night. And I don't want to be cruel or step on her when she's down, but that's not the way you prepare yourself to run for governor, and that's what you get. And that's where she is today. She doesn't have a lot of Democratic friends.
You know, maybe there's a little bit of this is inside baseball, Steve, but I think people who think Christie is style and not a lot of substance, there's a political genius to him. If you could explain how, with the registration advantage in New Jersey, he was figured out a way. Yes, he worked across the aisle, but he was able to triangulate some of the Democrats that could have done him the most harm, from Cory Booker to even Sweeney and Sheila Oliver and the rest. You had Democrats of not lining up with him, making sure they didn't line up against him. And to do that in New Jersey as a Republican, that's no small feat.
Richard, you're absolutely right. And here's how he basically did it. First of all, don't underestimate the impact of Hurricane Sandy, not just the devastating impact for people in their lives, their businesses, or not back in their homes, but the impact politically. And I hate to look at a storm in that way, but the thing for Christie is people looked at him and asked this question. Would I rather have Christie in a crisis like Hurricane Sandy or Barbara Buono? And it was no contest. Now, what does that mean to Democrats? A lot of those Jersey Shore towns, Richard, they were led by Democrats. A lot of those Democratic mayors, both down the shore and in North Jersey, got grants, got help, got support from the state government. Why would they turn their back on Christie? Why would they say, yes, Governor, we appreciate your help. Yes, we appreciate everything you did for us in Hurricane Sandy, and now we're going to support Barbara Buono. They had a feeling he was going to win, and then they asked the question from a practical political point of view, who do I want to be with? And they did the practical thing, from mayors to council members to the county executive in Essex County, Joe DiVincenzo. A lot of grants and a lot of support went to Essex County. Now, Christie knew how to use government to help people, to make a difference, and those elected officials were trying to serve their constituency. What did Christie do for New Jersey with Barack Obama? They're hugging each other.
Yep.
Obama helped New Jersey during Sandy. Where was Barack Obama for Barbara Buono? Nowhere to be found. Practical politics played across the board.
You've talked to this governor as much as any person has in terms of interview. What I was surprised even earlier today was you talk to any politician, and whenever anybody asks about the next possible office they could seek, they always defer and say, oh, my eye's only on this race and everything else. He talked openly today, before the polls even closed, about some of the opportunities in 2016 and about how he could be a voice for the Republican Party, et cetera. Now, obviously, he knew he was going to win, so it wasn't that politically risky to do that. But nonetheless, he's consciously positioning himself nationally as an alternative to the Tea Party Republicans. That's not coincidence. He's thought about this quite a while in terms of what he's going to do, not just for New Jersey, but how he wants to position himself nationally in the next 12 to 18 months, hasn't he?
This is a governor who ended his campaign in Union City, New Jersey, a Democratic stronghold in Hudson County. That's not an accident. Now, what does that have to do with your question? Everything. Because Christie wanted to be able to say, I ended this campaign in a Democratic area that he's going to wind up doing very well. He's going to be able to say across this country, I won in a very blue state with 800,000 more Democrats. I won in places like Union City. I held my own in places like Essex County, New Jersey. And that is what his calling card will be when Republicans who are going to challenge him aren't going to be able to say that. There isn't a governor across this country. There isn't a Senator Ted Cruz and others who are going to be able to say they can get Democratic and independent votes. Christie will be able to say that. They can criticize him all they want, but he's the only one who has crossed the aisle, gotten things done, and what can we say about the Republicans in Washington? Surely we can't say that, because they spent all their time hating on Barack Obama and saying he's the worst person in the world. That's not about getting things done.
Hey, Stephen, just a couple minutes I got left before I got to get out at the end of to get out for the top of the hour. But explain to people who underestimate the value of authenticity in today's politics, given how jaded electorates are and how tired they are of Washington speak and not knowing, to try and parse what lawmakers have to say, regardless of what side of the aisle they are. What makes this guy so different and so appealing to so many people, even some Democrats?
Like him or not, take him or leave him, he is what he is, and Christie isn't working overtime to try to change his personality for anyone, Richard. He's a hardcore Jersey guy, and I don't think he cares an iota about polls in terms of where his position needs to be. Yeah, it's going to get more complicated when he runs for president, and I say when because I have no doubt that he is. But in Jersey, let's just say, there is no doubt that he is born, excuse the expression because he loves Springsteen, he is born to run in this state. The question is going to become, when he is as authentic as he's been across this country, it's going to be fascinating in places like Alabama and Arkansas and other places how that plays. But I got to tell you, I don't think he can change his gear. This is it. And that's not true for a lot of other politicians. I believe they're constantly changing it up. The problem with that is that's not authentic, and they get caught. Christie never gets caught playing a different tune that he's not familiar with because he, frankly, like him or not, he is who he is all the time, hardcore. And that's why he gets people peeved sometimes.
Yep.
Because that's really who he is. Believe me, I've gotten him peeved on the other end of an interview enough times. He doesn't hold back.
No. You never have to guess where you stand with Christie, and today possibly a step to maybe greater aspirations as Mr. Adubato just laid out. Hey, Steve, as always, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Great job, Richard, as always.
Thank you. All right, everybody, we jump to a quick break. When we come back in 2 minutes' time, we're going to set the stage as the polls in New York will have just closed at that point. We'll turn our attention to some of the key races going on right now in the Empire State. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back.